Shalom. I'm Rabbi Saks, the editor of the RCA's Journal of Orthodox Jewish Thought, Tradition. We hope you've been reading the journal and visiting us at traditiononline.org and bringing our work to the attention of your congregants. We welcome the participation of the RCA member rabbis, and your feedback in what we're doing at the journal is important to us. In Parshat Tetzei, we read the lamentable case of the Ben Sorer Umoreh, the rebellious son whose parents must turn him over to the authorities for execution on account of the sins he will inevitably commit in the future. The boy is judged, according to the Mishnah in the 8th parak of Sanhedrin, based on his end, al shem sofo. Better he should die innocent rather than dying later with guilt. Our parasha records, if a man has a wayward and rebellious son, Ben Sorer Umoreh, who does not listen to his father or his mother, enenu shomea b'kol aviv u'b'kol imo, and they chasten him, and he still does not listen to them, his father and his mother shall take hold of him and bring him to the elders of his city and to the gate of his place. And they shall say to the elders of the city, this son of ours is wayward and rebellious. He does not listen to our voice. Enenu shomea b'kolenu. He is a glutton and a guzzler. B'nenu zeh sorer umoreh, enenu shomea b'kolenu, zolel v'soveh. And all the men of his city shall stone him to death, and he shall die. Uviarta haram yirkibecha, v'chol Yisrael yishma'u v'yirahu. The Torah Sheba'al Peh, again, principally in the 8th chapter of Sanhedrin, so uncomfortable with the very idea of the institution of Ben Sorer Umoreh, interprets these verses in such a way to both raise the bar of what constitutes an executable offense, as well as provide so many mitigating possibilities that in the end, the Gemara suggests that there never was nor ever will be an actual Ben Sorer Umoreh. This is similar to the hypothetical case of Ir Hanidachat, the holy idolatrous city, which must be utterly destroyed. Although we should note, in our case, Rabbi Yonatan disagrees and was convinced that there was at least one Ben Sorer Umoreh upon whose grave he sat, and indeed one Ir Hanidachat. Perhaps the most perplexing exegetical mitigation is based on the parents' declaration that the child does not listen to our voice, bikolenu. From the odd grammatical construction of that noun, in which the parents refer to our plural voice singular, Rabbi Yehuda determines that the parents must be of singular voice or equal voice, so that, let's imagine if one of them called on the phone, the Ben Sorer Umoreh wouldn't be able to tell from the sound on the other end of the receiver if it was mom or dad. And just as they must be of identical voice, Rabbi Yehuda adds a requirement that the two parents must be equal in height and in appearance. This must have made for quite the family photo album. Without these highly, extraordinarily unlikely conditions being met, even the most rebellious child in the world would not meet the technical conditions to be susceptible to the death penalty as a Ben Sorer Umoreh. What is the meaning of Rabbi Yehuda's odd requirements? Perhaps he's telegraphing to us the precursors of what becomes a Ben Sorer Umoreh most. Without entering the nature versus nurture thicket, it's clear that the harmony of message the child receives from both parents greatly influences the path he or she will choose as he or she begins to mature and individuate, as the psychologists often tell us. When two parents literally sound identical, the message becomes muted, like two sounds of equal wavelength which cancel each other out, as the physicists often tell us. Clearly, parents must act in tandem, and surely their worldviews and values are best communicated when there's harmony. But rigid ideological lockstep, so that the child cannot differentiate between father and mother, or perhaps in our language, Musar Avicha and Torat Imecha, this is the path to rebellion. This may be related to the fact that these two parents are precisely the same height, causing them to see everything from exactly the same perspective. If this converts into a figurative carbon copy of how to view and interpret the world, it robs the child of the complementary way to look at things that he might receive if his parents weren't some kind of bizarre clones of each other. Just as too much overlap in the gene pool can lead to serious birth defects, so too we need a certain amount of parental variety within an obvious framework of consensus to avoid the dangers and defects of the Ben Surer Umoreh. Yehuda's principles point to parental harmony as a middle path between discord and the sounds of silence produced by two parents attempting to educate with only one voice. Shabbat Shalom and Shana Tova.